بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. MashaAllah. Welcome back again, Jazakallah khair, for our Tafseer class, inshallah ta'ala. Last week we had a beautiful introduction to the session, and mashallah, there's many of you attended. And now we'll actually jump into the Tafseer. So let us start. We're going to go right to the beginning of the Quran, which is Surah Al Fatiha. Okay? As I understand, sisters are also listening as well. Sister, if at any point towards the end we'll come to question and answers. So you can either voice your questions if there is a mic, if not, then you're going to, unfortunately for today or until the next time, we can make arrangements, write the question down on a piece of paper and just send it forward, inshallah. We'll try to address it. Okay. So last week we had a look at the introduction to Tafseer. So before we can dive straight into Tafseer, we said that the correct methodology of approaching Tafseer, just a quick reminder, warming us up before we jump in, we said when we're doing Tafseer, what's the 4 steps or 5 steps that we take? So what's the first thing we do? When we do Tafseer, we do Tafseer of the Quran with Quran. And then after we look in the Quran, we don't find the answer, where do we go? Sunnah. If we still don't find the answer in the Sunnah, where do we go? Call the Sahaba, well done. And then if you don't find it in Call the Sahaba, then what do we do? Okay, the Tabi'in, and what do we say after that? That's part of the Sahaba or Tabi'in. We're missing one?
Opinions.
Before we get to that, there's one more.
Israelis.
There's one more.
Torah and other books.
The language. Yeah, we look into the language to see if there's anything from the Arabic language, and then finally we go to personal opinions based upon the fact that they've studied all of those principles before. Good, mashallah. We also said that Tafseer, so we're looking at just Tafseer, there are 3 main schools. Yeah, who can tell me one of those schools? Where was it based?
Iraq.
Iraq, good. And who was it there? Ibn Abbas, good. And also another great Sahabi was based in Iraq. Who was another one? Ibn Mas'ud. Yeah, we said Ibn Mas'ud. Okay, so that's Iraq done. Where's the other one?
Mecca.
Mecca. Who was in Mecca? He later, so we said Ibn Mas'ud was based in Mecca initially, okay? And the third one we said was obviously Medina. And who was in Medina? You didn't do your homework this week, huh?
Ubay bin Ka'b.
Sir?
Ubay bin Ka'b.
Well done. Ubay bin Ka'b. Okay, good, well done. So you need to learn these things, yeah? So this was from a tafsir standpoint. Also, we looked at fiqh. Yeah, there are 4 main schools of fiqh. So whenever we're talking about permissibility or impermissibility, or what we can or can't do, there are 4 main schools in fiqh. And what are the 4 main schools? We said the first of those, if we go in order of chronological order, who's the first of those? So we said most of the Pakistanis, Indians, Bengalis, they follow who?
Imam Abu Hanifa.
So Imam Abu Hanifa, okay, good. And that was based in Iraq, in Kufa, good. Then number 2?
Hanafi.
That's the first one. Imam Abu Hanifa is Hanafi. Number 2?
Maliki.
Good. Imam Malik. Imam Malik bin Anas, he was based where?
Shafi. Medina.
He was based in Medina, good. The third one was, somebody said it? So Somali brothers, yeah. Imam Shafi'i, okay, good. Palestinian, but he moved them to Mecca, good. And the last one?
Hanbali.
Yeah, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, okay, and his madhab today we find in Saudi Arabia or in the Khalij. Good, well done. These things we need to be aware of. All right, let's go into Fatiha today. So like I said, you need to make notes, yeah, because I'm going to ask you questions, and it's not just so you can answer questions, so I know you're learning, otherwise we're just talking. We don't want to talk. We can do that anywhere in the cafe or somewhere, in a restaurant, but we're here to learn tafsir, so you need to study. Right. The surah we have in front of us is known as Al Fatiha, and it's a Makki surah. So we also made mention last week that the surahs in the Quran divide up into two types, Makki surah or Madani surah. And what was the differentiating factor between a Makki surah and a Madani surah? How do we differentiate what is what? What did we say?
Makki is the Aqidah.
Before and after Hijrah.
That's what I want to hear. Before and after Hijrah. Anything before the Hijrah is considered Makki. Anything considered after Hijrah is considered Madani. Okay, good. So the first thing we have to understand is Surah Al Fatiha is a Makki surah, and there are by ijma', by consensus of the scholars, there are 7 verses in this surah. Al Fatiha, it comes from the root word fataha, which means to open. And it's called Al Fatiha, number one, because it's the opening chapter. Okay, it's the opening chapter to the Quran. That's why it's given the name Al Fatiha, the opener of the book. It's been given many names. We're going to go through a few of them. The most popular of them, like we said, is Al Fatiha. And the reason is said because the Quran, the Mus'haf, is opened by the Fatiha. And also, when we're leading or reading our prayers, the first surah that we read is Al-Fatiha. So it's opening the prayer as well. Okay, so it's given the name Al-Fatiha. The second name is Kitab. So write this down. So the first name was Al-Fatiha. The second name was Kitab. Now for most languages, we know what does mean? Mother. Okay, so literally it means mother. But in English, if we said the mother of this subject, Kitab or Mawdu', the mother of the subject, it means the most important part. Okay, so we're Quran. So when you say Kitab, it means the mother of the Quran, not literally, but it means that this surah is the nucleus, is the heart of the Quran. Why is that the case? Because this surah being 7 verses, it includes everything that you'll find inside the Quran. So it starts off with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So we do number 1, Aqidah. We learn how to send hamd upon Allah. He is a Rabb, which is Tawheed. So you find, number 1, the reason to why it's called Kitab, it contains all the main points inside one surah. So it's got issues of Aqidah. It's got issues of stories of previous generations. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِينَ. We'll come to that as well in due course, talking about the Jews and the Christians. So this surah is called Kitab because it contains the major parts of the Quran. Okay. Likewise, which is the most important city in the world? Which is the city that's got if you pray there, Mecca. Who knows another name for Mecca? Bakka, the old name? Or al-Qura, well done. Okay, it's called al-Qura, the mother of all cities, because it's the most important. Yeah, that's why it's called al-Qura. So we can see why the Fatiha is called Kitab, the most important chapter in the book. Another name that's given to Al-Fatiha is As-Sab'u Al-Mathani, the 7 repeated verses. As-Sab'u Al-Mathani. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in Surah Al-Hijr, which is the early Meccan surah, in the ayah, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ, that we have given you 7 most beautiful verses. This is in Surah Al-Hijr 87. And by consensus of the Mufassirun, they say that in this ayah, what Allah is referring to, which surah is He referring to when He says we have given you the 7 most often repeated verses, He's referring to which surah?
Surah
Al-Fatiha. Okay, so in Surah Hijr, وَلَقَدْ أَتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ, referring back to Surah Al-Fatiha, the 7 most often repeated verses. Now subhanAllah, if you just consider your Al-Fatiha, and you just consider your obligatory prayers in the daytime, how many times do you read Al-Fatiha? So in Fajr, how many times do you read it? 2
times.
2 times. Good, mashallah. So 2 times. And then Dhuhr, how many times? 4. And then Asr, how many times? 4, so that's 10. Then Maghrib, how many times? 3. And then Isha, how many times? 4 equals? 17. So every single day, you read Al-Fatiha 17 times, just the Fard, let alone the Sunnah and the Nawafil. That's just you. Then what about all the Muslims around the world? Yeah, imagine how many times Al-Fatiha is being read, which means 24 hours around the clock, somebody somewhere is reading Al-Fatiha. Subhanallah. And that's why it's called As-Sab' al-Mathani, because it's the most often read chapter in the world. It's always being read. So if you look at some countries where it's daytime, they're reading Al-Fatiha, and the night time they're sleeping, maybe somebody's on Qiyamul Layl, and then when you flip it over, the other people are reading Al-Fatiha, and the other people are sleeping. So this is the most often repeated ayah, that's why it's called, verse that's called As-Sab' al-Mathani. There are many, many names, and because of time, I'm not going to go through all of them, but another one is Ash-Shifa. Okay, this Fatiha is also called Ash-Shifa. What's Ash-Shifa?
Remedy.
The remedy or the cure. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if you feel pain or you have some issue somewhere, put your hand and read Al-Fatiha 7 times and your pain will go away. SubhanAllah, I know, SubhanAllah, a brother even recently come to me and he said that he was feeling seriously ill. He's had an operation and he's not feeling well. He stopped taking medication and he said, I've been reading Fatiha on where it is 7 times in the morning and the evening, and he said, Wallahi, SubhanAllah, I feel so much better. Allah said the surah is called Ash-Shifa. So if your children are not feeling well, put your hand on them and read Al-Fatiha 7 times. If you're not feeling well, put your hands on them and read it 7 times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it's a cure. It will fix your problems. Also another name given to the surah is Al-Hamd. Okay, Surah Al-Hamd. Easy one. Why is it called Al-Hamd? What's the first ayah in Surah Alhamdulillah? So it's given the name Al-Hamd because it's the first verse in the surah. Okay, so those are the names. Please don't forget them. Let's look at some of the virtues of this beautiful surah. Ruwi al-Bukhari fi Sahih. In Bukhari, he narrates Ibn Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, كنت أصلي في المسجد. This companion was in the masjid and he was praying. فدعاني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Prophet ﷺ called him while he was in his prayer. And he didn't respond to the Prophet ﷺ until he completed his prayer. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, once he completed, said, مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَأْتِي? Why did you not come when I called you? So the companion said, فَقُلْتُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ, I said, إِنِّي كُنْتُ أُصَلِّي, I was praying. I didn't want to break my prayer. فَقَالَ أَلَمْ يَقُلْ اللَّهِ, didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اسْتَجِيبُوا لِلَّهِ وَلِلرَّسُولِ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ? That didn't Allah say in the Quran that respond to Allah and His Messenger whenever they call onto you? And then the Prophet ﷺ said to him, I will teach you أعظم السور في القرآن قبل أن تخرج من المسجد. I'm going to teach you the most important surah in the Quran before you leave the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ then continued talking to his other companion, and this companion is said to be waiting for the Prophet ﷺ, and he was engaged with the discussion. Then this man, he stood up and he was about to walk off, and the Prophet ﷺ then grabbed him and he taught him. He said, I will teach you the most important surah of the Quran. And he said, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, until the end of the surah, and taught him Al-Fatiha. Okay, showing us once again that the Prophet said it is the most important surah inside the Quran. Okay. Furthermore, in another narration, we find that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَالَّذِي بِنَفْسِ يَدِي. This is an Arabic expression, is making an oath. مَا أُنزِلَ فِي التَّوْرَاةِ, that there is nothing inside of the Torah, وَلَا فِي الْإِنْجِيلِ, inside of the book of the Christians, وَلَا فِي الزَّبُورِ, nothing in the book of David, وَلَا فِي الْفُرْقَانِ مِثْلَهَا وَهِيَ السَّبْعِ الْمَثَانِ. And he said there is nothing like these other books that Allah has sent down which is as important, as comprehensive of Al-Fatiha. It's a verse in the Quran that is not found in any other book. Okay. In another very beautiful hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, and hadith Qudsi, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قَسَّمْتُ الصَّلَاةَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِي, that I have split the prayer between me and my slave. And this shows us how important Al-Fatiha is. That when a person, he says, when he reads Al-Fatiha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tells us that the person is having a conversation with Allah. And this is so important. Because many times we read Fatiha, we have no concentration, just we have no real thought of what we're saying. But Allah said it's a conversation between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praises to the Lord of the universe, Allah responds and said, Inna abdi hamadani, that my slave has praised me. Maliki yawmiddin, verily my slave has praised me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He responds to every ayah that you make. So it's a conversation. Okay, so another virtue of this surah, that there's no other surah like this where it's a direct conversation, and Allah is responding to every ayah that you are saying. So also that teaches us this Fatiha really is. Okay. Another very beautiful virtue of the surah is once the Prophet ﷺ was in his masjid and he was sitting with Jibreel alayhi salam. Okay, and while they were sitting with each other, they heard a sound. And they looked up, and Jibreel said to the Prophet ﷺ that this is a door that has been opened in the heavens. And this door has never been opened before. And he said, through this door, an angel has come and has sent down 2 surahs. One of them is Al Fatiha, and the other one is what the Imam read today, of the last verses of Surah Al Baqarah. And said, these 2 have come specially from a special place in paradise, and they have come down, okay, for you as a gift. This is for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these 2 surahs, inshallah, we will get to those ayats of end of Baqarah in due course. But these surahs, we have to remember, they came specially from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. More special than the rest of the Holy Quran. Okay, good. Right, let's start. So the first part, before we jump into the Fatiha, is the Istiadha. So write this down. Now we move over to Al-Istiadha. So we were looking at the virtues of Al-Fatiha. Now we're looking at Istiadha. The Istiadha is A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Okay. Where do we get this Istiadha from? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in Surah Al-Nahl, verse 98, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. That if you read the Quran, start with أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Why? It will protect you from the shaitan. We'll explain this, yeah? But the first thing we learn from this is the isti'adha, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. We must read it before we open the Quran. So when we open the Quran, the first thing we do is we say what? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and then we go inside. Okay? Always because it will protect you from the shaitan. The actual a'udh, what it literally means, the word a'udh is al-ja'a. Al-ja'a means to seek refuge. So literally, like a refugee, they call him al-laji. Okay, a refugee. What's a refugee doing? He's running from his circumstances, which are really bad, and he's going to a place which is better for him and his family. So when you say a'udhu, you're doing the same thing. You're asking Allah, oh Allah, the current situation I'm in, or I could be in, or Allah protect me and put me in a better place. So when you say a'udhu, you say, oh Allah protect me. Okay, take me to a better, safer place, which is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the first thing. It means laja'a, to seek refuge, which is a'udhu. The next one, a'udhu billahi, I seek refuge with Allah. A'udhu billahi, so I seek refuge, bi means with, so I seek refuge in Allah from what? A'udhu billahi, min, from ash-shaytan. Who is ash-shaytan? The word shaytan comes from the root shatana, which means ba'uda, which means to be far away. So he was called the one that is far away. What is he far away from?
God, Allah.
Okay, true. But a bit more than that. What's Allah's most beautiful name? Of course Allah, but then next after that?
Ar-Rahman.
Very good, Rahmah. So shaitan is far away from any form of Rahmah. He's got no Rahmah, zero. So this is why he's called Shatana, that he is most furthest away from any form of Rahmah. Okay, so he said, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from this shaitan, this one who has no mercy. You will give him no mercy. Okay, a shaitan. And Ar-Rajim is Al-Mali'un, the cursed one. Okay, so the one who's far away from the mercy of Allah, and he is cursed because Allah said he is 100% going to Jahannam. He's got no chance. Okay, this is Shaitan Ar-Rajim. Furthermore, what's important to understand as well is we need to look into understand shaitan a little bit more. Allah Almighty also said shayateen al-insi wal-jinn, that shaitan, some people think is just one shaitan. Yes, at the head of it is shaitan, but shaitan has an army working for him, and this army consists of shayateen. Jinn are another creation of Allah. Humans are a creation of Allah. Malaika are a creation of Allah. Allah created 3 beings. Number 1, angels. Angels, they have no choice in what they do. They have no free will. They only do good. And they don't die, they don't have children, they live forever. Until obviously when the horn is blown, everything is going to be destroyed. The angels, they are created. Humans, they are, as you know, living and dying, and they have children, they procreate. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Likewise, jinn as well. Jinn also, they marry and they live, they have children, they live their lives. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. The shayateen are from the jinn, but the bad jinn. Okay, so some of the jinn are Muslims. They worship Allah and they live their life and they do everything like we do, no problem. But some of them are evil. The evil ones are called shayateen. And Allah says that the shayateen are not just from the jinn, but they can also be from shayateen al-ins. They're from humans as well, subhanAllah. So some humans, they may look like humans, but really it's a shaitan. Yeah, some of them, we don't need to make mention of names, but some is obvious. Shayateen in the world, they're causing killing and massacre and destruction. They are real shayateen, evil people. Okay, Allah says that don't think that this is just jinn hidden away, but some humans are shayateen. Allah said in the Quran, shayateen al-insi wal jinn, that they are humans and jinn. Okay. Also, why is it that we need to seek refuge from shaitan? We know what shaitan did. He didn't listen to Allah and he was cursed. But what did shaitan say? Let's look at some of his plots and his plans. He said, he made a promise. He said, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين. Allah, the shaitan said, once he was cursed, he was called shaitan, he said, I will come to people, all of you, I will come to them. من بين أيديهم, I will come to them in front of them, I will attack you from in front of you. And he said, وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ, and if I don't get from the front, I will come from behind. And he said, مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ, and if I don't get them in خَلْفِهِمْ, وَأَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ, I'll come from the right side. And if I don't catch you from your right side, he said, أَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ, I'll come to them from the left side. Meaning he's always trying to make you make mistakes. And how does shaitan come to us? Shaitan, he studies us. And he knows our weaknesses. And he comes to do through your weaknesses. Because we humans, we are weak, we have desire. So let's give an example. There is a person, he loves money. Yeah? A lot of us love money, but some people love it a bit too much. So some people, they love money. So what does shaitan do? He comes through this door of money. So he says to him, look, why don't you do some overtime? Your children need the money, just do some extra overtime. And while he's doing overtime, he doesn't pray, he doesn't wake up, or fajr, but he needs the money. So shaitan tricks him. Nothing wrong with overtime, by the way, do it if you can. But the point is, if you do it at the expense of your religion, then, or somebody says, look, subhanAllah, fasting is too difficult. You're driving all the time, you have deliveries coming, how are you going to fast? Look, work hard and build a house, but forget about fasting, it's not good for you, it's going to make you tired. He says, yeah, okay, I won't fast. Shaitan got him. Why? Because he's too busy trying to build his house and make money, he forgot. Shaitan tricked him. Or likewise, another example, some people, they're victim to their desires when it comes to women. And they can't keep their eyes down. So shaitan all the time keeps showing him women, keep showing him women. He's never going to get her, but he keeps showing him women. He thinks he's going to get her one day, but he never gets her. But in his own mind, he's committing sin after sin after sin, and he's going away. Shaitan is tricking him from his desires. So shaitan, he studies us and he knows our weaknesses. So he will come from the front or from behind or from left or from the right, but he won't give up until you are destroyed. So we need to seek refuge from that. There's another very beautiful verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he also tells us about some of the tricks of shaitan. I'm adding this extra into the tafsir just so you understand. In this verse, shaitan, he makes his tricks very clear. He says, I will do 4 things to humans, how I will mislead them. Look what he says. He said, number 1, وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, I'm going to make them go astray. How? He's going to make you forget Allah. He's going to make you think of other things, worshipping Jesus, worshipping Buddha, worshipping idols, Rama, whatever it is, worshipping these things. He's going to keep you busy. He said, وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ, I keep them busy with these things. وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, I will fill their hearts and their minds with lots of hopes and goals. Nothing wrong with having hopes and goals, organized and structured in your life. But what it means here, lots of false hopes that inshallah I'm going to buy 10 houses, I'm going to travel around the world, I'm going to all these things. And you have such big goals and you're chasing behind these goals, but in reality it's nowhere. The Prophet ﷺ once, he drew a line in the sand and he said, this line is man's life. This is what he plans. I'm going to get married, I'm going to have children, I'm going to work. He makes a big line. This is the man and his hopes. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he drew a square, including just a little bit of that line. And he said, this is his real life. All the rest of it was just hope. So shaitan will keep us busy with false hopes and ambitions, and we will be busy not worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third thing he says, وَلَأَمْرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ, that in the times of the Quraysh, what they would do was they would cut the ears of cows and they would let them walk around, so they'd be bleeding, and they would let them walk around, and wherever they dropped out of bleeding they would die. They would do some kind of superstition with their blood or with the animal. So what we learn from this is the fact that shaitan will keep us busy with superstitions, okay, like good luck charms and superstitions and horoscopes and these false things that have no real hope. So he will keep us busy with these things. And the final thing which I want to touch on, shaitan said, وَلَآمِرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرَنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. I will change the creation of Allah, so the people become confused. Now, what's the explanation of that? I'll give you an example. I think may have mentioned this here before, I'm not sure. But look at the example of our food. How many times have you gone out and bought food or vegetables? You buy a tomato and it's this big, and it's bright red. That's not natural tomato. How did they get so big? Or you buy certain vegetables, they're huge, or they're bright in color. How do they get that big? They've been changed by injections or whatever. Shaitan changing the creation of Allah. Not just that, but let me give you even more clearer example, and the youngsters will understand this as well. That what I find, what is the biggest change of Allah's creation today in our day and age? When you're walking down the road and you don't know whether you're looking at a man or a woman. A man can have a number of operations and he becomes a woman. Woman can have operation, becomes a man. A bit of silicone, a bit of plastic, you got a different creation. Allah, Shaitan said, I will change the creation of Allah. You'll become confused. I don't know whether to lower my gaze. I don't know whether to shake his or her hand. I don't know where I stand. I don't know what's happening. Shaitan said he will confuse you. And this is the matter. And we see this in front of our very eyes. So this is why we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Oh Allah, we seek your refuge in shaitan because of what he's going to do to us. Okay? Also, if you can write this down, some extra points. When should we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim? Okay? Some points. There's loads of points, but I just want to highlight some of them. Okay, number one, we said this one already, which was that when do we say A'udhu Billah?
We started reading the
Good.
Quran.
This is the obvious one. When we start Quran, we always begin with A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Number two is in the prayer before you read the Fatiha. Okay, start off before you go into Fatiha. A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and then you start reading your Fatiha. So in your salawat. Number three, the Prophet ﷺ said, when you're angry. When you get angry, say A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Because the Prophet said that when you become angry, shaitan is running in your blood. He's running in your body. He wants you to do something silly. He wants you to say to your wife, I'm taliq, I divorce you. He wants you to say to your brother, I'm this and I'm that. He wants you to do something silly. So when you're angry, just say A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Okay, and the Prophet said, if you still feel angry after that, then if you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting, lie down. If you're still angry after that, then the only thing that can put out fire is water. Go and make wudu. Okay? But the first step is to say, protect us from the shayateen inside the bathroom. Okay? Also another point, when we say A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim, the Prophet said, when you hear the barking of dogs or donkeys. Okay? That's another time. Sometimes the sound of shayateen, just say A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Also, when you're doing ruqya. What is ruqya? Ruqya is when you're curing people through the Quran. So if your child is not feeling well or your wife's not feeling well, you can read Quran on them with the intention for them to get better. Begin it with A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Because what's affecting them is the tricks and the plots of shaitan. So you start off with that and inshallah you continue with the rest of the ruqya. Also the seventh point, when do you say A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim? When you're entering into the masjid as well. Okay, so as you enter into the masjid, A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim, push away shaitan and you enter into the masjid. Also number 8, when you're inside the prayer. When you're inside the prayer and you're in salah and you start thinking about your business or you're thinking about your wife or whatever's distracting you, what should you do? Turn to the left, pretend to spit, not in real, just lightly and say A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim and continue so your concentration comes back. Because shaitan is distracting you while you're praying. Okay, when I say why I said that, because you don't want to do real spit. Okay, otherwise the person on the left is going to get a bit of spit on his face. Don't do that. Okay, just symbolic. Just okay, and then you'll come back into focus. Okay, and generally, whenever you have whispers, if you're outside, shaitan's telling you to look at this girl, or he's telling you, look, you can make quick money if you make this quick deal. You can do something quickly. Just say, so your idea will go away from your head. Yeah, so these are some of the ways and places where we say the Istiadha. Okay, it's okay. Right, let's move over to the next line, which is the Basmalah. Okay, the surah, the actual Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the name of it is Basmalah. So we don't say Bismillah, we say Basmalah. That's the name. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Basmalah. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, when we look at the Basmalah, the word ism, it comes from as-samu bima'na al-ulu, something which is high. Okay, so the word actual Bismillah, it comes from something which is high. So we say Bismillah in the name of Allah. Now, some of you may be looking at translations, I'm not sure what you're reading, but what does it translate? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you were to translate that, what does it translate as?
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind.
Okay, so in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. Now, I'm just going to say something, so don't
The beneficent, the merciful.
the magnificent,
The beneficent,
most
the
kind.
merciful.
Now, if you say that in English, is that a complete sentence?
No.
It's in the name of Allah. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, the Basmalah as it is, it doesn't mean anything. What do you mean in the name of Allah? So there is something missing. Yeah, and in Arabic this is allowed. Okay, it's called hadf. You can have certain parts of a sentence missing because the meaning is obvious. But it's only obvious once you study it. So in the name of Allah, what? Something is missing. In English, they call this the ellipsis. Okay, for those who study English grammar, something in the sentence is missing. What is missing? It could be a noun that's missing, or it could be a verb that's missing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He intentionally left out the verb that is missing at the beginning of this sentence. When do we say Bismillah?
When you begin something.
Begin something. So give me an example.
Eating food.
Eating food. Give another example.
Doing something good.
Okay, so anything. So eating food, wudu,
Going home.
going home. Okay, good. So look how, subhanAllah, how powerful this verse is. Allah intentionally left off the beginning part of the ayah, which is a verb, and gave us the rest in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most magnificent, or however you translate it. You left it off. Why? Because you can attach the second part of the sentence to any verb you like. So you can say, Akulu, I eat, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I eat in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. Or, I'm going home in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. I'm going to sleep in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intentionally left off the first part because you can put anything you want in there and then use the name of Allah to bless whatever it is that you're doing. If Allah had said, Aqra'u al-Quran, I'm reading the Quran in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most kind, would we then say Bismillah to everything else that we do? No, because it's finished, it's confined to the Quran, only the Quran. But Allah wants you to make mention of His name whenever you do anything good. So intentionally Allah left off the beginning part and gave you the second half. So that's why when you're walking down the road, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When you're about to read, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When you're about to eat, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You use it everywhere. Entering the masjid, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So in the name of Allah, I do whatever action it is. So this is the first part, subhanAllah, that the first part of it is missing, and you can add anything you like. So I eat in the name of Allah, I sleep in the name of Allah, I go. So is that clear? Yeah, anything like that. Okay, so this is a beautiful part of the Arabic language. Okay, the second part, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this is really Arabic. In Arabic you have two types of words. You have, the Arabic language itself is a derivative language. Words are derived from one to another. It's not like English where every word is independent. Okay, Arabic is not like that. Arabic is like a tree. So if you go to the root of the word, you can derive so many different words out of one word. So the questions that the scholars asked was the word Allah, is that a derived word or is that a word which is a unique word? Okay, so the scholars, they differed greatly on whether it is, but the conclusion is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ismul Alam, which means it's unique. Okay, it's not derived from any other word. Some people said it comes from Ilah. So Ilah means a God. And then you put Alif Lam, which means the God, Al-Ilah. They said that's where it's derived from. But the majority of scholars said no, it's a unique word, Ismul Alam. No one's had this name before. Okay, it's unique only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. The other part of the Basmalah is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. I'm not going to explain that here because in Fatiha it comes again. Yeah? So I'm going to explain it inside Fatiha. Okay, so this is the Fatiha. Sorry, this is the, we did the Istiadha and we also did the Basmalah. Now before we move on to anything else, I want to have a quick look at something. So here comes a good discussion. We had a look at the Basmalah, we had a look at the Istiadha. The Basmalah, is the Basmalah an ayah from the Quran? That's the first question. Okay, so here the different schools of thought, they differ amongst themselves. هل البسملة آية من القرآن? Is it an ayah from the Quran? Because where do you find the Basmalah? When we open our Quran, where do we find Basmalah? Where is it?
It says, it is somewhere in the Bismillah Majriya or something like that.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll come to that, mashallah. Yeah, so you said something other.
In the beginning.
Very good. It's in the beginning of every surah. Except for which one?
Tawbah.
Very good. Yeah, Tawbah or Bara'ah. That's the only surah that doesn't begin with Bismillah. Okay. Anyway, so like the brother said, yes, we find in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّهُ مِن سُلَيْمَانَ وَإِنَّهُ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ. So the actual Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is an ayah from the Quran. So we have no doubt about that. But the scholars, they didn't disagree with that, but they disagreed that number one, is is Al-Basmalah a part of Surah Al Fatiha? That's number one. And number two, is it part of every other surah in the Quran, or is it just a way of differentiating between the ending of one surah and the beginning of another? Are you with me? Yeah? So the first thing, is it part of Surah Al Fatiha? And then the second question is it just to separate between the other surahs, or is it actually the first ayah in every surah? Why is that important? Because if you look at the different schools, Imam al-Shafi'i, okay, said that Al-Fatiha Al-Basmalah is part of Al-Fatiha. So if you ever go to Somalia or Masjid where mostly the Imam is Somalian, when they start off the prayer, or Yemenis, when you start off the prayer, they start off with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Why? Because they believe that the Basmalah is part of Fatiha. You have to read it. Okay? You have to read it loud. Whereas, so the first opinion is that of Imam al-Shafi'i. He said that the Basmalah is part of Al-Fatiha. It has to be read. Okay? The second is the position of Imam Malik. Imam Malik, he said that no, the Fatiha is not part of Surah Al-Fatiha. So if you went into a Maliki mosque in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and you went in there, they will start off straight away with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, straight away. Okay, so the Shafi on one side and the Malikis on the other side. In the middle, you have the Hanafis. Okay, and the Hanafis, they say that Al-Fatiha is a verse from the Quran, like we just read. Okay, but it is not part of Surah Al-Fatiha, but we read it silently at the beginning. Okay, but it's not part of Surah Al-Fatiha. Okay, and they said it's used to differentiate between the different surahs. All right. Do you want to know the evidences, or is that good enough? Alright, good enough? Okay. Okay. So those were the three positions, and why is it important to understand that? I like to make mention of this because, you know, many of us, we come from our own backgrounds, and when we hear something new or something different, we think it's wrong. Huh? But we shouldn't think like that. If there is some basis for something in Islam, we should tolerate one another. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. There is no salah for the person who didn't read Fatiha. Okay? There is no salah for the person that didn't read Fatiha. I'll explain this hadith in just a minute. But the point I'm trying to get to is that if the Shafi'is believe that Bismillah is part of Fatiha, and let's say the Malikis believe that the Bismillah is not part of Fatiha, so if a Shafi'i was praying and the Imam was Maliki and he started off with Alhamdulillah straight away, in his head, has Fatiha been read or not been read? So the Imam is Maliki. He didn't read Bismillah. And the people behind him are Shafi'i. They believe you have to read Bismillah. And the Imam, he didn't read it. So will they say that his Fatiha is complete or incomplete? And if his Fatiha is incomplete, the Prophet said, La salah, there's no prayer for the one who didn't read Fatiha. So does he have a prayer or no prayer?
No prayer.
No prayer. So what are they going to do? They're going to go around the wall and make their own jama'ah. That's what they're going to do. Yeah, but this is the point I'm trying to make here, is that in fiqh, if there is a legitimate ikhtilaf, a legitimate difference of opinion, we tolerate one another. So if the Imam is Maliki and the people behind the Shafi'i should not leave the Imam, they should follow the Imam. And likewise if it's the other way, if he's Hanafi and the people behind the Shafi'i, don't abandon him, because no, you have to follow him. Because as long as you're coming from these four schools, they are Sunni schools, you have to follow them. Okay, because there is evidence on either side. So this creates tolerance amongst us. Yeah, when you have knowledge, you get tolerance. So get away with sectarianism or bigotry or groups. Yeah, we get rid of all of that stuff. We all come under one banner. So this is the reason to why I made mention of that. Also, the other point to make mention of here is what's the ruling of reading the Basmalah in the prayer? Okay, so the answer of that is linked to the previous one. Okay, so when we're praying, let's say the Imam is leading, should he read Al Fatiha? Should he read the Bismillah or not? This is the question. So this you can answer it yourself. So if the Imam is Shafi'i, will he read it or not? He will read it loud. Yeah, like you see. If he's Maliki, will he read it? No. He's not going to read it. But if he's Hanafi, he's going to read it, but he's going to read it silent. You'll only hear him when he says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Okay? And all three positions are accepted in Islam. None of them is right, and none of them is wrong. So all three accept. So if you're Hanafi, you carry on. If you're Shafi, you carry on. But understand, learn to deal with one another. So if you hear that. Okay. Alright, good. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Okay, shall we go into Al-Fatiha? Or is it time? You okay? Everybody okay to carry on? Okay. Don't worry, Sahil's not here today, so we can keep going.
Warm up.
Alright, so Fatiha al-Kitab. Let's have a look at some of the ayat. So the first ayah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So the first word is Alhamd. Okay, Alhamd is saying that all praise, all perfection goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing is perfect except Allah. No mistakes, no faults. Perfection belongs only to Allah. Pure hamd belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we start off the beautiful surah by praising Allah. Al-Thana al-Kamil, complete perfection belongs to Allah. No one has that. Okay. Some people, they get confused between Al-Hamd, which is praise, and Ash-Shukr. Yeah, I think Shukr is the same in many languages. What does Shukr mean? Thanks or gratitude, yeah? And Alhamd is also praise and gratitude. But what's the difference? The difference, you can write this down as well, the difference between Alhamd and Shukr. Alhamd is something which is done, okay, with no return. So Alhamd is done not because of you giving anything, just default, you just praise what deserves to be praised. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether He's given you or not given you, He is deserving of all blessings. Whereas a shukr, when do you say thank you to someone? When they've done something good to you, well done. Yeah? So you say thank you to someone who does something good to you. But does Allah need us to say thank you? No. He deserves all praise and all perfection, whether He's given us or He hasn't given us. So that's why we say Alhamdulillah, not Ash-Shukrulillah. We say shukr as well, but Alhamd is much bigger than Ash-Shukr. Okay, that's the first difference. The second difference is that the hamd is done from the heart. Okay, when we said hamd to Allah, the hamd is done from the heart and from the tongue. Whereas the shukr is done from the heart and the tongue, but also with the body as well. Okay, so you return the favor. Yeah, somebody gave you a gift, you give them a gift back. You return the favor. So those are the two differences between hamd and shukr. The next one. So we've said Alhamdu. So who does this praise belong to? This complete perfection, Lillah. It belongs only to Allah. And who is Allah? What's the next? What do we say? What's the next one? Alhamdulillah. That's who He is. He is the Rabb of the Alameen. Alameen means the universe. All the universes, all creation. Everything. And like for example, the word Rabb means Lord. But it's bigger than that. In Arabic, the husband, he is considered a Rabbul Bayt. What does that mean? So the husband is considered to be a Rabbul Bayt. What does that mean? It means he's the responsible one of the house. He is the Rabb. He is the one who manages the affairs of his wife and his children. And he's responsible. Allah runs the affairs of this whole universe, not just the house. The Rabbul Alameen. You're the man of your house. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Allah belongs the best of examples. He's not a man, but He runs the affairs of the complete universe. Your rizq, your food, your sleep, your marriage, your health, Allah runs everything, is in His control. So He's the Rabb of the Alameen. Have you heard of the word tarbiyah? Everyone heard the Arabic word tarbiyah?
Training.
Training, yeah? It comes from Rabb. Rabba yurabbi tarbiyah. Tarbiyah means when we give tarbiyah to our children, we look after them, we nurture them. Allah is the Rabb. Allah takes care of us. Allah gives us rizq, gives us food. Allah gives us money. Allah gives us health. Allah gives you the night. Why did He give you the night? To rest. And He's given you the day to go and work. If He made it both days, none of us would sleep. We'd be working 24 hours around the clock, gathering houses and cars and money. But Allah, alhamdulillah, He forced us to the night, and He forced us to get tired. We take a rest. Otherwise, wallahi, all of us would be working 24 hours around the clock, competing who's got the biggest house. But Allah forced us with the night and forced us with the day. He is the owner of everything. So alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, all praise is to Allah. And who is this Allah? He is the Rabb, the owner, the cherisher, the provider of everything inside this universe. What you see and what you don't see. What's in space, the planets, the stars, and what's under the sea. The oceans, yet still to this day, someone can give me the exact number, but the human or the camera has only been able to penetrate a number of kilometers into the earth, into the ocean. Yet, vast majority of the ocean they have not discovered yet. The species and the life forms that are at the bottom of the ocean, nobody knows. They've not even got to that level. So science hasn't even been able to get us that far. You know, how many movies or how many films have they made, you know, where people try to make a drill into the earth to try to see what's inside. And they can't go any further than a kilometer or two and they get stuck because of the pressure. They can't go in. But Allah says, He is Rabbul Alameen. Let alone just the earth. What's the earth? It's nothing. Allah says He is the Rabbul Alameen. He is the Lord and the Creator and the Sustainer and the Cherisher of every planet, every star, every galaxy, every living form on this planet. He gives them. That's who Allah is. So we say, Alhamdulillah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Okay. And hence, when we say Rabbil Alameen, it means He is the only one who is worthy of our worship. That's why shirk is considered to be the worst sin. Because if Allah is the Rabb, He's given you food, He's given you health, He's given you children, He's given you a house, He's given you everything. And at the end of the day, all you have to say is, Ya Allah, thank you. But instead of saying, Ya Allah, thank you, you bow down to a statue. Allah's going to get angry. You say, oh Jesus, thank you. What? Jesus was created by Allah. Why? This is why shirk is inna shirka dhulmun azim. It's the greatest oppression. Because Allah gives you so much, and when it comes to say thank you, you give it to somebody else. Yeah? It's like, give me an example just so you understand. It's like that of a parent. The parent gives the child everything, money, house, car, looking after him, warmth, protection, everything. All he wants the child to say is thank you, Dad. But in response he says, oh, my teacher gave me this. You didn't give me anything. It hurts, doesn't it? You say, well, I did all this for you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater than human beings. To Allah belongs the best of examples. That's why shirk is considered to be the worst sin. Allah give you and you did not show any appreciation to it. So Rabbil Alameen, Allah is ma'bud. He is the only one who is worthy of our worship. Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Now we said the most, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how many names has He given us? 99. Does He only have 99?
No.
He has unlimited amount, but He's only given us 99. And He said anybody who learns and memorizes these 99 is guaranteed Jannah. SubhanAllah. Learns, memorizes them 99 names. What that means is you memorize them and you also live according to them. So when one of His names is Ar-Razzaq, that He is the provider. You don't go to a grave, you don't go to a Pir Sahib, you don't go to Murana Sahib and say, please Pir Sahib, give me a baby boy. I have 5 girls, I need a boy. And you go to the grave asking him to give you a baby boy. No, you don't do that. Okay? They go, I'll ask Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Ar-Razzaq. That's how you learn His name, Ar-Razzaq. Okay? He is Al-Ghafur. He is the most forgiving. When you commit a sin, no need to go to the confession box, no need to go to the priest. No, you turn to Allah directly. And you ask Allah to forgive you. Make change in life, Allah will forgive you. That's how you understood His name, Al-Ghafur. So He has 99 that He has given us. We learn these 99 and we apply them. And the other thing, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Allah has the most beautiful names, so call Him with these names. So one of the things is, if you're making dua, and let's say, I'm using this as an example today, but if, let's say for example, you want children. Okay, you're not having children, your marriage is struggling. And Allah's name is Ar-Razzaq. So when you ask Allah, which name should you use? Ya Razzaq. Ya Razzaq, give me a baby boy, please, Ya Allah. Be a baby girl, please, Ya Allah. He'll give you. If you committed sin, you've done all the bad things and you want to fix your life, you're asking for forgiveness, which name should you use? Ya Ghafar, Ya Ghafoor, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. You're asking for mercy, Ar-Rahman. That's why you have his names. Not 99 names, so we put them on a piece of paper and put it on the wall. So when guests come to, MashaAllah, 99 names. And you can't read any of them. Yeah, that's not the purpose. You can have it, it's not a problem. But just understand it. Or sometimes you have 99 names written on a piece of paper, put around your neck. And like, how are you going, what's that going to benefit you? So this is the 99 names. And Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, these two names, when you translate them into English or even in Urdu or other languages, they're very similar in the translation. But let's summarize them. They both come from the word Rahima, which means mercy. But the Mufassirun, they've explained this in different ways, and I'm just going to give you the main points, is that Ar-Rahma, this mercy, they say that Rahman, this mercy, this is universal mercy. This is the mercy of Allah that is sent to believers and disbelievers. Mercy that's sent to humans and animals. The mercy that you see a mother with a cat with her kittens. When you see a chicken with the hen with the chickens, that mercy, that's Rahman. That mercy is for all living things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe it or not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said that He divided mercy into 100 parts. And out of those parts, only one of them He sent to this earth. So the mercy that you see amongst us, the mercy that you see a mother with her child when she's breastfeeding and she's awake in the night looking after the children, stressing and crying, that's 1% of the total mercy. And Allah said, the rest of that mercy, the 99 parts, He has saved for the believers on Yawm al-Qiyam. Subhanallah. And that's where the second name comes in, which is Rahim. The Rahim is for the believers on Yawm al-Qiyam. A special rahmah just for the believers on that day when they need mercy. So these are two names. Ar-Rahman, general mercy for all people. Ar-Rahim, a special type of mercy for the believers Yawm al-Qiyamah. So if you fit the criteria of being a believer, then Allah says He will give you extra mercy on that day because you lived up to that name. SubhanAllah. So these are His two names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Okay. Malik Yawmiddin. Malik means the owner or the king. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the king. Yawmiddin, on the day of ad-din. What does ad-din mean? Deen means al-jaza, the day of recompense. Which means, let's say if you go to work, and this week you did 40 hours of work. How many hours are you going to get paid? 40. That's your jaza. If you ended up having a bad week and you only did 10 hours, you're going to get how much hours of work? 10. Jaza. So jaza means recompense. Good or bad. Whatever you've done, now you're going to get paid. You put in the hours, this is what you're going to get. So Allah says He is the Malik, He is the king of the day when everybody's going to be given what they deserved. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that when everything is going to be destroyed, when the trumpet is going to be blown, and everything, Allah commands everything to be destroyed. All the universes, the planets, the stars, everything is going to be destroyed. The malaika, everything is going to be destroyed. And Allah says, when everything is destroyed, Allah will then say, Manil mulk al-yawm. Who does the kingdom belong to today? Where are the kings? Those kings who walked on this earth and caused fitna and fasad and killed people who thought they were tyrants and they caused problems on this earth. Allah will say, where are the kings now? Obviously no one's responding because no one's there. He says, I am the king. I am the king of kings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Malik, the king, the real king of that day where we will give our rewards or our deeds. Okay. And then we have, should we stop there? Some
ulama say Yawm al-Din is Yawm al-Qiyamah.
Is Yawm al-Qiyamah as well?
Yawm al-Chat.
Yeah, of course. So Yawm al-Din, like I said, is the day when you'll be given what you've earned, and you'll be given what you earned on the day of judgment. So that's what it's referring to. So Yawm al-Din is Yawm al-Qiyamah. Okay, I'll finish on this last one. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. That you alone we worship, and you alone nasta'een, we seek help. Now, this ayah is considered to be ayah of Tawheed, the verse which singles out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For those who understand Arabic, even in English, when you make a sentence, you normally start with the verb and then you give the subject, and then you give the object. For example, or the subject, and then the verb, and then the object. What do I mean? I'm going to say, Ahmed ate an apple. So Ahmed is the subject, ate is the verb, and what did he eat? The subject is at the end of the sentence. Now, if you use that structure, is there a possibility that Ahmed ate more than an apple? Can we add to that sentence? So if we said Ahmed ate an apple, can I keep going? And a banana, and a cake. You can do that, right? Likewise in Arabic, if you start off the sentence with a verb, and then you give the subject and the object. For example, exact same sentence. Akala Ahmadu at-tufaha. That Ahmed ate an apple. You can do the same thing. Wal mawza, wal inaba, and grapes. You can keep going. So if we say we worship Allah, is there a possibility of saying or adding things onto it as well, linguistically speaking? You can add to it. So you can say we worship Allah and Jesus and blah and blah and add. You can add to it. There is a special technique or usloob in the Arabic language that if you bring the object to the front of the sentence, you cannot add anything to it after that. So in this sentence, the sentence reads na'budu ka. That's the default how you do it. So na'budu means we worship, ka means you. We worship you. It follows the same order. You can add things onto that. We worship you and Jesus and this and that, add to it. But if you take that ka, which is at the end of the ayah, and bring it to the front of the ayah, you can't add anything else. So this is beautiful rhetoric, balagha. It's Iyaka na'budu. We brought the object to the beginning of the sentence, which means we only worship you and doesn't allow you to worship anything else. So just through the Arabic language, you've shown your tawheed. That there is no possibility of worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iyaka, only you we worship. If you said it the other way around, na'buduka, you can add things. But in this way, when you bring it to the front, you can't. So the first thing is, we only worship Allah, talking about the physical worship. And وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ Al-Isti'ana, it means to seek help. When you need help in certain affairs, that we only ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. We don't ask any human beings. Obviously, if it's daily chores, that's fine, but we're talking about matters relating to ghaibiyat and things like that. We only ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nobody else. So this ayah is known as ayat tawheed, okay, giving us our tawheed that we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Inshallah, we'll stop here on verse number 5 and we'll take the rest next week. Okay, so we'll finish off Al Fatiha next week, and if we get opportunity, we'll go into the opening verses of Surah Al Baqarah. So for the next